Hi, everyone. Welcome back to In Her Wallet, a weekly podcast helping women around the world take control of their finances for good and build better financial futures one episode at a time. My name is Sofiia. I'm your host, the founder of In Her Wallet, and an accredited investment representative here in Canada. Today is episode number 25 of season 2. You know, I love beautiful numbers. If you want to support this show, please leave us a 5-star review and follow our podcast on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, or whatever podcast player you use. Also, every episode is video recorded, so tune into our YouTube channel to see our pretty faces. So, with that out of the way, today we are talking about credit cards, a topic that hasn't been covered on the In Her Wallet podcast before, but my sister just got her very first credit card, so I thought this would be a great opportunity to do a conversation style episode, very laid back, chill, where she gets to ask me any questions she has about credit cards, and I get to guide her and shine with my knowledge. So, for anyone who is new to credit cards or maybe does not fully understand how they work, and how to maximize them. Stay tuned because at the end of this episode, you will be fully equipped with all the knowledge you need to go from beginner to a pro. With that said, Aleksa, welcome to In Her Wallet. I am so excited that you joined me today.
Hi, Sophia. Thank you so much for having me today. It's a pleasure, and I'm glad that we're covering this very interesting and very sensitive topic together. It is indeed my first credit card, and I feel like your guidance is something that I really do need from the very beginning so I don't make any common mistakes and maximize my credit card experience. So, yeah, I'm super excited. Thank you for having me.
I love it. Okay, so for those people who don't know who you are, let's draw a portrait of who you are. Like, let's say that you're a student, right? Just basically give us a few highlights.
Yeah, I'm a third year student. I'm studying at University of British Columbia. I'm majoring in psychology and I'm minoring in commerce. So this is my picture of my degree, and I think something that I can uncover as well as what I spend my most what are most my expenses are. Most my expenses go to day-to-day activities, I would say, such as groceries, toiletries. I also do a lot of subscriptions. I love workout subscriptions. That's my weakness. Uh, Probably eating out, and by eating out, I mean coffee. That's probably the top of it. But yeah, I have to say I'm not a big shopper as well. I don't do impulsive shopping at all. Maybe that's Sophia's positive impact on me. Yeah, but
For once, it's a positive impact.
but if I shop very consciously. So this is one of the positive habits I definitely inherited from you, Sophia.
We should also mention that you work full time right now in the summer, and during
Yeah,
school year, you work full time.
yeah. You see, my work is like such a big part of my life that I already embedded it, just forgetting about it already. But yeah, I
Yeah.
work at a health tech company. It's been a year and a half now since I started to work there. It has been precious experience. I love my job. I love what I do. And yeah, so I've been starting to make my first income since the age of 19.
I'm so proud of you. Oh, this is a proud sister
Oh
moment.
yeah, always.
Okay, Alexa, why did you decide to get a credit card in the first place? Like, why was now the time?
I feel like as I started to get older, I started to have more financial responsibilities that can be covered by debit card. And by covered by debit card, I don't mean that it's not enough money or something else. I mean by, for example, I need to make a booking, I need to make a reservation. I also started to encounter the question of credit history, which I know you can build only with a credit card. And I just think it's a great opportunity to have more financial responsibility and to learn new skills of how to use credit card because eventually you will encounter it in your life. And it's better to learn it now than later when I'm even older, right?
Look, that's all you need to know about this girl. Usually, people try to have less financial responsibilities, and this girl just wants to dive into having more financial responsibilities and learn new skills. I love it. Okay,
Thank
well,
you.
I'm excited to talk about this to kind of for me to have a better understanding for our conversation. Tell me, what do you know about credit cards so far? Like, what's your perception of them? Are they good? Are they bad? What have you heard of them?
I think my perception of credit cards is very, very neutral because I haven't had one and I haven't used one. That's just not the experience that I had yet. I also have to say that parents never gave us their credit cards. It was always debit or it was always just like cash. We were always very in boundaries. But so my perception is nor good nor bad. But something good that I've heard of credit cards is that it's a great opportunity to build your credit history. Obviously, if you're very aware of it and conscious of it, it's a great opportunity to get rewards, to create your bookings or reservations, such as hotel and travel. Some of the bad perceptions of which I think people have, and this is probably like stereotype kind of thing, is that you can get in debt and you can get high fees, high interest fees, right? So these are probably some negative ones that I have, and I'm sure you can tell me the truth about this.
Yes. Well, without really taking a long time to start our conversation, why don't we just dive into it? You mentioned credit score and credit history a few times.
Yeah.
So, let's chat about that. Do you know what a credit score is or what a credit history is?
No, let's begin. Let's begin from that. What is a credit score, and how do I maintain a good credit score?
Probably, as you mentioned, your very first perception of a
Um,
credit card is that you needed to have a credit history. You
mhm.
mentioned it a few times already in our conversation. And back home, obviously, we are immigrants here with you to Canada. Like, once you moved here, you've heard it so many times, and I won't be surprised that that's one of the main things why you decided to open a credit card, right?
Yeah, 100%.
People people make such a big deal out of it, and it kind of is because it has a direct impact on many things. From like, some employers even look at your
Oh, yeah.
credit history. But the biggest thing is that when people head into their biggest financial purchase, which is buying their first home with a mortgage, the bank looks at your credit score and
Hmm.
decides what is the interest rate that they will give you. And basically, in a nutshell, what a credit score is, it's a number that represents how well you manage your credit card and your debt.
Hmm.
It's basically like a grade that you get in school that shows to the banks how likely you are to repay the borrowed money on time. And
Hmm.
when it comes to credit score, there is a range. So it can go anywhere from, I think, 300 to 900 points. And the higher it is, the better the score, meaning to banks that you're more likely to repay the money responsibly
Hmm.
and on time. So for your Alexa, because this is your very first credit card and you do not have any credit history yet in Canada or anywhere, but we're talking about just Canada, you right now, if you were to go and check your credit score, which you can do in your Scotiabank app, you won't have a credit score
Hmm.
because you're new to this. You simply won't. It's not like you'll be starting from 300 and grow your way up. You simply won't have a score.
Hmm.
And the reasons for that is because you just don't have a history yet. So it takes time to build it. It'll start to accumulate slowly. And that's a good thing for you because if you follow the rules, which we'll highlight later on, you'll get to a good number very quickly. So you kind of have a very fresh,
Hmm.
clean place where you start. And hopefully it takes you to the 900 very quickly.
Beautiful. And I think the follow-up question to this is what are the things that actually affect my credit score, and what are some of the points that I shall keep in mind?
Great question. So, 65% of your credit score is affected by just two things. It's
Mm-hmm.
how it's your payment history, which is whether you pay your bills on time, and it's the credit utilization ratio. So let me first talk about the payment history,
Mm-hmm.
which is basically, as
Yeah.
I mentioned, whether you pay your bills on time. What I like to do when my card statement comes out is I like to mark my calendar for that date so I don't forget when to make that transfer from my checking account to my credit account. I also allow myself for extra time. So, for example, my next billing date is July 10th, but in my calendar, I marked it as I think July 8th or 9th. So that gives me a few extra 24 to 48 hours to transfer the money from checking account to the credit card. And another thing here I want to mention to you is because we are on the West Coast in
Mm-hmm.
Vancouver, we are on Pacific Standard Time. Banks operate on Eastern Standard Time.
Okay.
So let's say your billing due date is July 9th or July 10th. Um, if you transfer the money on July 10th at 5 p.m., in Toronto or in the East Coast, it's already 8 p.m. Banks are closed. So they won't calculate that transfer until the
Oh,
next day,
okay.
which they will charge the interest then. They will start charging interest. I've been in these situations a few times. So if you see, like, that's a tip from me
Mm-hmm.
about your payments, make sure to mark your billing due date, which is new every time it comes out. We'll talk about card statements in a bit, but make sure to mark it a few days before to allow for
Okay.
that extra time. Another thing I want to mention about the payment history is the fact that there is actually an option to set up auto payments. It's very convenient, and basically what it does, if it's the bank automatically transferring your card statement amount from your checking account to your credit card,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't even need to think about it. So it's very convenient, and a lot of people do that. I personally am not a huge fan because I love to check my card statement, to check my spending, to see if there are any charges I don't recognize, and then like kind of keep control to
Mm-hmm.
myself to see how much money I'm going to transfer to my credit card. So it's totally your preference. As a beginner, I would say start with doing it yourself so you get a hand of like what a card statement is. You familiarize yourself with that PDF.
Mm-hmm.
You get in the habit of looking through your expenses and what you get charged for, and then go to maybe automating it
Yeah.
down the road. So that's
Perfect.
with regards to the payment history. Do you
Mm-hmm.
have any questions about that?
So I know that, for example, when they're charging your card automatically, they can charge a full amount or they can charge a minimum amount. If I choose to go with this option, what do you think is the best thing to do? Like my minimum amount or full amount?
Definitely. But if you pay full amount, you don't get charged any interest at all because you're paying off your card. And that's the best way to go. That's kind of the best way to use credit cards
Hmm.
because you only pay your annual card fee,
Yeah.
and you get to use the rewards that the card comes with.
Oh, yeah.
If you decide to only pay minimum payment, it means that you're carrying forward the amount that you've used but you have not paid, and that's when the bank starts charging you interest.
Okay.
And that both is costly to you
Mm-hmm.
and it affects your credit score negatively.
Okay.
So we'll talk about it in a bit, but for now, I'll just say that you always need to aim to pay off your card statement balance in full.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do not have enough money to pay off that statement in full, aim to pay more than just the minimum payment.
Okay.
If the minimum payment is $10, and your card statement is $100, aim to pay $50 or $60. But you should not be in a situation like that. You
Mm-hmm.
should never use more money on the credit card than you have in your checking account.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep. Sounds
Now let me talk about the credit utilization ratio, which is the
good.
second
Mm-hmm.
thing that affects your credit score. I told you that 65% of the good credit score accounts for payment history and credit utilization ratio.
Mm-hmm.
So what credit utilization ratio is basically the amount of money you use from the total credit limit that the bank gives you. What's the credit limit on your card?
$1,000.
Okay. So what If you were to use in 1 month $500 from your credit card that
Mm-hmm.
has a total allowance of $1,000, it means that your credit utilization ratio would be 50%.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Do you understand
Yeah,
that?
yeah, I
It's
do.
very straightforward. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What a lot of people don't know about credit utilization ratio that in order to increase and maintain a good credit score, you shall not use more than 30% of your limit available,
Mm-hmm.
even if you paid in full every month. A lot of people think, I can use up to $1,000 in my credit limit and I'll just pay it off in full next month. And that will maintain a good credit score. But what it actually means to the banks is that you depend on that money that they gave you with a credit card,
Mm-hmm.
like borrowed money, which is not good. And that affects your credit score negatively. So with your $1,000 limit card, you shall not use more than $300 every month.
Yeah.
I would even say to stay below that.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So that those two things both account for 65% of a good credit score. There are other factors
Mm-hmm.
like the length of credit history and the types of credit cards you have and other credits, maybe mortgages or car loans. But I would say right now, as a beginner, do not overwhelm yourself and just focus on those two
Okay.
things, and they'll get you to a good credit score fast.
Perfect. So, next question. When do I use my credit card? Because there are so many
Oh my.
things to spend your money on. When do I use my credit card and when do I use my debit card still?
Yeah. Alexa, honestly, this varies from person to person, and there is no right or wrong approach. The
Mm-hmm.
types of things you pay for with your credit cards don't affect your credit score, but the amount does. So make sure that you just stay below the
Mm-hmm.
30% utilization of your full limit. Another thing to keep in mind here is what benefits does your card offer?
Mm-hmm.
I know you have a student card,
Yep.
correct?
Yep.
And I think it's a scene card. So it allows you to earn scene points for particular expenses. I think it's 2 or 1 point for any purchases in
Yes.
grocery stores or pharmacies, and then zero point 0.5 points, half a point for all other expenses.
Mm-hmm.
So if you wanted to maximize those benefits, if I were you, I would focus on using my credit card at stores that allow me to earn that full point,
Oh, okay. Perfect.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And again, just stay below that $300 limit.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing I want to mention here, actually, going back to our point, you know how on campus you usually have banks visiting you and
Oh,
offering
yeah.
you credit cards for students with all these benefits?
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen that?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Oh my God, girl. When I just moved to Canada, like it was everywhere, and I obviously didn't know what credit cards were. So I'd open this one here. And like little did I know, it's not good to open multiple credit cards in a very short period of time.
My God.
That on your credit card report will look like you're opening credit cards in a short period of time and that you depend on that money borrowed. So that's not good. If you're ever in a situation like that and you're just starting to build your credit history, I would say stick to one card, maximum two, but one is the best. Wait for about
Mm-hmm.
a year and a half, and then if you need second credit card, open it elsewhere. But don't fall for that trap. Like I don't know why they do that.
Well,
It's
luckily
so
I
bad.
have you to ask a question first and then make a decision. So I'm definitely luckier than
Yeah.
me.
I've burnt myself a time or two, so
Oh,
you don't
yeah.
have to.
Perfect. So when do I need to pay off my card?
Now we're getting to the interesting part. So
Yeah.
here are a few things. Yeah, the most interesting and fun and exciting and also
Oh,
a little bit overwhelming part.
painful.
So yeah, here are a few things I need you to understand. First is the billing cycle. Do you
Mhm.
know what that is?
Uh, I think it would be great if you could give a gift definition for me and for the listeners as well.
Yeah. So basically, a billing cycle usually lasts for about 30 days. And during that period of time, any purchases you make or any balance transfers that you make towards your credit card are being recorded.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of that 30-day period, the bank will generate a statement, a card statement that I referred to earlier, that summarizes your activity during that period. The statement will include things such as your total balance, your minimum payment due, the payment due date, which we talked about, and any applicable fees or interest charges.
Mm-hmm.
Very important to note here that the billing cycle and the payment due date will not align perfectly. For example, you opened your card on July 7th and it'll run until August 7th. But your payment due date will not be August 7th. Usually, the bank gives you a few weeks after the billing cycle end to allow you to review your statement and make the necessary payment.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, if your billing cycle end day is August 7th, probably your payment due date will be about August 15th.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I would also say that that extra time allows you to review your card statement carefully each month to ensure that there are no unrecognized transactions and that you understand what you're spending your money on. So that's kind of,
Okay.
again, when do I need to pay off my credit card? Mark that payment due date in your calendar and make sure that you'll actually get a notification. Make sure that your new notifications for your Scotiabank app are turned
Mm-hmm.
on. So whenever a bank statement is issued, they'll send you a notification and you get to look at it. And we can do it for the first time with you together. I'm very excited for it.
All the sister proud moment. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, Sophia, what is an interest? How does credit card interest work? And how do I minimize it?
So, very straightforward. Look, if you pay your balance in full, you don't get charged interest at all. This is the best case scenario of using a credit card because you get to reap the rewards with only paying your annual card fee. However, if you don't pay off your balance in full before the due date, the bank will start charging you interest on the balance you owe, which is often referred to as carry forward balance because you haven't paid it off, you're carrying it forward to the next
Mm-hmm.
billing cycle. If you go to the web page of your credit card, you can find what the interest rate is. It's often referred as APR, annual percentage rate.
Mm-hmm.
Very often, it's somewhere between 19 and 20%, so very high. Just kind of as a way of comparison, normally the stock market return is on average 6 to 8%
Wow.
that you can earn, but the credit card interest that they charge you is 19 to 20%.
Yeah.
So almost 2.5 times more. If you owe, let's look at an example. You used $100 from your credit card
Mm-hmm.
and you carried forward, you didn't pay it off from your previous billing cycle.
Mm-hmm.
So the bank will start charging you interest on that $100. The way the bank calculates it, it doesn't calculate that 19% on the $100. 19% is the annual rate.
Mm-hmm.
So they divide 19% by the number of days that you are not paying off that balance. Let's
Mm-hmm.
say it stays there for 1 month. They will divide 19% by 30 days
Mm-hmm.
and then I did the calculation actually before our recording. It comes to $1.67 for 1 month on
Okay, yeah.
$100. Might not seem too much, but it starts to accumulate and compound if you don't pay it again and again and again. So it's a very
Mm-hmm.
costly situation. And I would say just to do your best to avoid it and be very careful with your credit card. Again, how to minimize it? Just pay your balance in full, or if you can't afford to pay it in full, try to pay more than the minimum balance.
Perfect. I think we also mentioned this, but I still want to ask you this question. How important it is to pay off your credit card amount in full or in minimum?
Again, there are two things that you really need to be aware of.
Mm-hmm.
First is that you're being charged for the money that you borrowed, which is not a good thing to begin with. You're basically paying for using someone else's money. If you understand that you're coming kind of close to using your credit card allowance, just stick to your debit card.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Don't overspend. It's very easy to get caught up, to start paying with it here and there, left and right, cocktails, shopping, workout subscriptions. But don't get carried away.
Oh
Just
yeah.
always check what your balance is, because you don't want to be paying interest. That's very easy to get caught up, and that's how people get in debt. And then the second thing, obviously, why it's very important to pay the card in full is because your credit score will start decreasing if you don't. Because the bank understands that you don't have enough money basically to pay off that balance, right?
Yeah, and I think I have one more question, last but not the least, obviously, the most pleasurable one probably. How do I maximize the benefits that my credit card offers to me? Because I feel like people get credit cards for benefits often. So I
Yeah.
absolutely want to maximize mine as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's so cool to see people travel and take like first class
Mm-hmm.
flight tickets, hotels for this, travel points. Like you get excited when you think about that.
Yeah.
The way to do that is to get the correct credit card, the right credit card for you in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So I know for you, you chose the Scene Points card versus cashback. And it's probably correct because you'll be using about $300 of that limit every month.
Mm-hmm.
It won't allow you to earn a lot of cash back. But in points, if you maximize every purchase that you make with your credit card at the stores participating that allow you to use Scene Points, that will allow you to earn the points, which you can then redirect to what you like. You should check what the redemption stores or what the
Mm-hmm.
redemption reward redemption ways are to be able to do it the right way. Banks are very tricky in that way. Like I remember we were buying flight tickets with Roman using his RBC points,
Mm-hmm.
and the flight ticket I think was $900, and they offered us to instead pay for it with points, which was in points value it was $1,100. So it
Yeah,
was
that's
worse.
crazy. I've seen that as well. And funny part, I went in one of the airlines website and they were offering to buy the points. So you can buy the points for cash and then use these points to buy the tickets. So it's crazy how the system
Sometimes,
works.
yeah. Yeah. So you got to be very careful. Sometimes they have deals like they would offer to buy like 1,000 points for 50% discount. So you gotta, that actually works out to be really good. But be very careful with how you redeem the points.
Hmm.
Again, right? It's one way to be smart about earning them.
Hmm.
So focus on stores and expense categories that allow you to earn maximum number amount of points, but also be smart about how you optimize that redemption.
Okay.
And I would say that that's kind of the best way to go about it. Like redeem
Hmm.
strategically and earn points in a smart way. But
Beautiful.
most importantly, all those rewards won't matter again if you are paying money for using that borrowed
Yeah,
money,
of
right? So
course.
the best way to maximize card is to only pay the annual fee for the card, which for you it's zero because you're a student. So
Hmm.
great, I missed those times. Um, Pay the balance off in full, stay under the 30% credit utilization ratio,
Hmm.
and make sure that you shop at stores that allow you to earn those points. I know you mentioned you like workout subscriptions.
Yep.
So oftentimes cards really like when you get recurring expenses every month. Check
Hmm.
the website of your credit card and see if they offer that. If they do, I would say put that recurring fee for your workout subscription or for Netflix subscription on your credit card, because that might allow you for some cards to earn more points.
Beautiful. That was a great summary of everything we discussed. Yeah, and very
I
helpful.
think so too.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sophia. These are all the questions I really had for you, but all of them super helpful.
I'm happy to hear that. Have you made your first purchase with a credit card yet?
No, not yet. I'm waiting for it to arrive actually. So yeah, I'm about to receive it in the
Wow,
next
so we're
week.
ahead of the game.
Yeah, we
We're ahead
are.
of the. Love
I'll
it.
receive it in my mailbox sometime this week probably, and I'll go get my coffee. As I mentioned, I'm a big coffee girl, so that's my purchase probably.
Perfect. Yes, some credit cards offer you more points for paying for restaurants. So a lot of people keep credit cards simply for paying for dinners or coffees or lunches at
Hmm.
restaurants. So going back to my point, just make sure that you read the document of what allows you to earn the most rewards to maximize that.
I will definitely do that. I'll also send it over to you so you can read it as well and help me out.
More homework for me.
You're the best sister. That's okay.
Aw, love you.
Love you as
Alexa,
well.
thank you so much for being with me today. I honestly love this was such a casual and natural and fun conversation.
Yeah.
If you guys loved it as well, if you receive it well, let us know. Send us a message, comment on Instagram or on TikTok. We're actually on Threads now, which I'm absolutely loving. I'm
Hmm.
obsessed with Threads. So follow us there. Subscribe to the show and leave us a 5-star review. As I mentioned, please share this recording with this episode with your family and friends and whoever you think might find this useful. I want to say, give yourself credit for showing up. Alexa, give yourself credit.
Yeah.
And everyone else listening, give yourself credit for showing up for yourself and your future because every time you do that, you increase what's financially possible for you. Thank you all, and we'll see you next week with a new episode. Alexa, thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Love you.